These are ginger shots.
Oh, spicy.
Yes, it is going to be spicy. Okay. Maybe a tad bit of cayenne in there.
Oh, there's cayenne in there.
Tad bit.
I can already feel it from here. Jeez.
One more thing. Devon or Devon?
Devon.
Devon, okay. Good question. Because 2 people say Devon.
Yeah, a lot. Ready.
All right, we are ready. So greetings, Devon Graham, aka the Black Airbender. I'm so impressed by you. And welcome to Higher Frequency. Thank you for saying yes. Thank you so much for saying yes. When I wrote down all the people that I wanted to interview, you were top of the list because I'm so impressed with everything that you are. And let's get started. We start with ginger shots.
Oh, cheers.
Okay, so it's a little different over here. We're going to
Thank you.
cleanse the body, cleanse the mind. You already know what's up. I know you know what's up.
Cheers.
Cheers to you. Cheers.
I can
Ginger
already feel the
shots.
cayenne.
This is my first time not taking it all the way. Okay. Woo. So those ginger shots are actually from Exotica's juice bar. And he also, hold on. I know you're so normal. No, I see the sweat.
Oh, no, I'm sweating. I
see the sweat.
I sweat. Me and plants, we have a symbiosis thing.
Love that.
Mm-hmm.
So hold on, my mouth is a little watery.
See, I told you, I didn't even taste it yet, but my body already knew that it was coming.
Yeah, so I made sure that he did it extra spicy. There is a little bit of cayenne pepper in it. And he also provided the juices. And this is the first time that you have your own and I have my own, or my guest has their own, because usually like it's like the same. But, I made sure that you placed your order this time. I think it's important to like, just in case there's something that you don't like. I know there's some things that I don't like. The watermelon, I love watermelon by itself. I'm not really into mixing it.
Yeah, same.
So you requested watermelon. I wanted to make sure you got everything that you requested. So Exotica's juice bar, and I'm actually gonna gift you with an acai bowl or smoothie or juice whenever you want to go over there. We can meet over there. You could just go on your own and let me know, and I will just let him know that you're showing up. And you're gonna love it. It's not too far from where all our things happen.
Perfect. Thank you.
So cheers to you. I know you said no straws.
Mine no drink from straw.
Exactly. I'm like that with the coconuts. Whenever I go and get a coconut, they're like, do you want a straw? I'm like, no, I'm gonna drink it straight like that. And so thank you so much for coming. You are an inspiration. The first time I saw everything that you were posting about, I was like, who is this person? What planet do you come from? What energy vortex do you come from? So you specialize in air, breathing. That's simple.
I would say breath and rhythm too. Yeah.
Breath and rhythm.
And I would say I'm also inspired by you.
Thank you.
As well. Your consistency within the community and seeing that in my backyard all the time. That's powerful. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Whew. I know we breathe all the time, but I guess we're breathing wrong. I say this all the time.
Or I would say we don't have more awareness within our breath or relationship with our breath, in a sense. We do all these little things, and all the little things, quote, add up to big things. And one of those little things is our breathing pattern and our relationship with breath and rhythm and movement as well, in that relationship.
Yes. So I want to tap in before we go deeper into you and your whole purpose of the breath. Where do you come from? Because you're so interesting. Your look is so unique. Your phenotype is so unique. So what's the mixture? Tell me.
My parents are mainly Jamaican.
Okay.
On my mom's side, I'm part Cuban.
Wow.
As well.
Wow.
So there is that part of me as well. Yeah, that's the
So
main mix.
are you tapped into the Cuban side? Do you speak Spanish? No.
Pequeño.
Okay, I
Yeah.
love that. Of course, of course.
I get around Mexico very well
Okay, okay.
by myself, so that wasn't too bad.
How long were you there?
I was there for about 3 weeks. Yeah, in Lapistan.
Wow, Mexico, Mexico. I the reason why I asked how long you were there because I actually stayed in Mexico for a month and a half, and same thing. I got around pretty well, and it was something very interesting to experience because I was there when the pyramids were there. Were the pyramids are still there, but I was there when the pyramids, when I wasn't tapped in like this. I wasn't into the whole conscious awareness when I went. And so, yes, I got to see the pyramids, but it was just kind of like, I'm just going to go and make it to the top and bring it right back down. And I saw the people from doing the Santeria. I saw the people up there doing Santeria and stuff like that. And, I wasn't tapped in. I was just there for the field trip in a sense. And then when I came back, and I want to say a few years later, and I tapped into the whole conscious awareness, and I was like, but I was there. So I got to tap in after that, realizing because I still have the photos and stuff. So that's dope. And so the breath, how you tap into the breath is so unique. And how earlier I just said that we aren't breathing right, and I say this in my yoga classes, I say this in my sessions that I do. I know I do my sound healing sessions and stuff like that. And so we're breathing in, tell me, through the nose, and I always say exhale out the mouth, but you do through the nose, out the nose
Mainly, yeah.
mainly, but you can do out the mouth as well.
You can, and the main focus is also understanding that our exhale should be our main focus when it comes to breathing. That's our first breath, actually.
Mm-hmm.
When we're coming out the womb, what's happening? Are we inhaling first? No, we got to spit out that embryonic fluid that mother held us in her womb for 9 months, just breathing in water, in more dense water than
That's true.
this light density. So we spit out that embryonic fluid and then we inhale. But that spit out is technically an exhale. So source is literally breathing through us, echoing out. And the water on planet Earth is older than the sun itself. So water itself was there from maybe the first bang or first snap of creation. Hydrogen is very explosive. It can be. And very, we're going to use it for the future tech of transportation.
Mm-hmm.
So it shows that hydrogen has a lot of potential that we're tapping into.
So is that in the body as well? Because they say that we're 60 to 70% water.
Exactly.
So that whole concept that you're saying resonates with
the source, the spirit is literally holding all these layers of water density that we call the human body together on a daily basis.
Mm-hmm.
It's so interesting to fathom because we technically live in a majority of quote unquote space.
Yeah. So when did you tap into this? When did you have this awareness? Like in what part of your life that it was just like, aha.
High school.
High school? Okay.
High school,
okay.
2012, when they said the world was going to end. So I was like, all right, if the world's going to end, let me lie down in peace. And that was like the first time I really went into my body. And I had a very prophetic, visionary dream. And the things that came out of that dream started playing itself out the very next year. And then things started to make sense. And then the whole 1111 numbers game, seeing that opened doors in the sense of following faith, but not, breathing and living something that you can't see and having that faith, even though you know it's not there, but you feel that it's there and it's, or God, Allah, however you want to describe it, has laid out path for you to be like, all right, it's in your face so much, you just can't deny it.
Right.
And that big tipping point was the breath for me.
So
sure.
when did the research start happening?
The research started happening when I actually started just integrating it into my life. And then seeing what was more symbiosis to the biggest conspiracy of them all,
Which is,
distracting you from your breathing itself.
I noticed that you talk about that a lot. So the
Mhm.
distractions, and this is what I was saying. So sometimes we're breathing the opposite of what we're so because you're supposed to breathe from your diaphragm rising up first, right? And then going in. But sometimes or usually, like if we're not paying attention to the breath, if we're not paying attention, then it's the opposite, correct? Or that
So
happens.
I'll break it down into the most grounded form in how source is breathing through us.
Okay, good.
So everything that is quote unquote living has a what? Has a pulse,
Yes.
right? So if the lungs aren't really doing the breathing and it's mainly the diaphragm, what's pumping the diaphragm technically? There's a pulse behind your diaphragm. There's a pulse there. So you can say spirit or energetic atomic form, and then pressure, and then what we consider quote unquote air.
Hmm.
And even within that aspect, there is plasma, the plasma density, which is a fourth state of matter, which is the thunder that we see in the air. That's really happening within our bodies, to the fact where
Deep.
it echoes to physical density, to where we can actually see the veins on our body that literally looks like thunder
Thunder.
or plasmic arc.
I knew this was gonna happen to me. I knew I was gonna be lost for words.
I'm just grounding
Wow.
it as much as
Because
possible.
that's so interesting because like, I always say we're reflections of the earth and we are reflections of the universe and everything within it. I say that our bloodstreams are like the rivers and like this kind of thing, but I never connected the thunder to our veins. I never connected it like that. So when did you start realizing these things? Again, I feel like it's a what do they call it? The rabbit hole. You go through the rabbit hole, but I don't like saying that, but you just kind of just continue to get deeper and deeper into your consciousness. You get deeper and deeper and evolving into all the things that you're learning. And so when did you realize that part?
But just living it more,
Good answer.
as much
Good answer.
as comfortable, or just as much as authentically as possible, to the point where when you do step back and reflect, you're like, wow, things come full circle into
Yes.
why I was there this time, why I met with this person at this time to connect and help out X amount of people at this time. So I'm just a channel and a breath guide, I like to say. And I had a client. She said, "Hey, one of your first YouTube videos was the age of the guru is over. So now that you went through some turmoil of life recently, etc.,
Hmm.
right? What do you say to that first YouTube video?" And I say, I still stand by that, because the guru, in a sense, is your experiences itself. That's your main guru.
Well, you have like this real ancient spirit about you. Obviously, you have more to more life in you, but you have this real ancient spirit. Do you connect to like, do people tell you this? Do people tell you that
They
you have a
do.
very ancient spirit? And so when did you start becoming a teacher? Because once you find your purpose, you then have to bring in that purpose to inspire others, because you are now inspired through all this history. You're inspired through all of this technology. You're inspired through all of this universal language and all the things that tap into what we are truly as a human form and energetic form and spiritual forms. So when did you start becoming a teacher? When did you start saying, okay, let me teach this to the people?
I would say whenever I started posting up on YouTube, in a sense of teaching through art, and how I call it breath art, where I went to Brickell and I recorded the sound of the city and me breathing more in a parasympathetic sense, because at the end of the day, we can't see the stresses of our lives, and one of the stresses is sound, and the city plays a huge role on our stress levels when it comes to sound. So
Interesting.
if one can honor the fact that you are always going to be the steady constant, sounds are going to come and go.
Right.
So if we can always tune into the sound of our breath and just hear that aspect of parasympathetic breathing in a loud, chaotic space, one can then tune within themselves to be like, all right, that's possible. I can, no matter what, I can be that and beyond. And that's like little seeds I play with music, and it's coming full circle of how I'll go to circuit guitar center
Mm-hmm.
and go for like a DJ board, and next thing you know, hey, do you want a free DJ board? Come follow me to my house. And next thing you know, I'm walking into a house full of Grammys and billboards, etc. And it goes in the sense that breath, rhythm, music, they all go in one unison. And I can understand how
Wow.
I attracted all these different artists over the years within the breath space, somehow, some way. And it's coming full circle where I'm finding myself naturally collaborating in spaces I didn't know was even possible, and people bringing certain artistry out of me because I've,
Mm.
in a sense, leveled with the aspect that no matter what room I'm going into, everyone is breathing.
Wow.
So that's a frequency where I like to harmonize, and if there's a synergy there where we can build, then the magic happens.
So I was gonna actually bring up, I was gonna name drop, I was gonna kind of do it later in, but we're reasoning. This is the reasoning. So we're bouncing back. So since you tapped into that just now, I wanted to name drop some people and see. I'm just inspired that you got a hold of Omarion.
Oh yeah.
For him, like he, to me, I always felt like he had like I mean, from what I see in social media and what I see that he had a really nice spirit. And so when I saw that you tapped into him, where he found you or learned about you and wanted to learn all the things that you were doing, I was impressed by that. I saw Kabaka Pyramid, which he said yes to my podcast. So you guys are gonna
Oh,
see him
hey,
soon. He said yes to it. I have to go through all the, he's a Grammy Award
let me
winner
know
now.
when.
Okay, I will. I will. Um, but I saw Kabaka Pyramid. I saw Rohan Marley. And I just was like, wow, you are really, really inspiring the higher ups with consciousness, with spirituality. Ultimately, I don't know how much you use the word spirituality or you tap into that word. Do you?
I do. 'Cause everything has a spirit. Down
Yes.
down to the book,
Yes.
down to that Ethiopian cross you have there.
Yes.
That science today is saying, oh, the space that we live in is conscious, etc.
Mm.
And things of that nature will be able to show that if you have a structure, it's really structured sound, and it has a particular frequency, and
Hmm.
they understand this. They know that.
Well, the Ethiopian cross or the maskal,
Yeah.
it is these are made uniquely, each and every one of them. I'm sure you know, because I was going to ask you next about the Rastafarian, and I noticed that you tap into Rastafari a little bit, or is it something that you're into,
It's
or you're just
around.
it's around? That's what
It's
I figured. It's
around, but I don't
around.
have to be Rasta to be. No, I don't have to be locked
To be
to be
Rastafari.
Rasta,
And
right?
yeah, because I think it's something that is a natural order. We have it in our
And it's
hearts.
funny because Rohan found me through Insta, and he didn't know that I was because when he used to live in Jersey with um, what's her name, his previous Lauren.
Lauren,
Yeah, when
yes.
he lived in Lauren,
Lauren Hill,
yeah,
yes.
my dad did his floors actually,
Oh my
and yeah,
gosh.
they know each other. I even showed a picture. I'm like, oh, you know my dad, because he said like, oh, you're Donovan's son. I'm like, yeah,
Wow.
yeah. So, like I said, see things
Hmm.
energetically just comes full circle, and I'm just blessed to just witness the movie.
Yeah,
It really
because
is a
people are
movie.
calling you and you're here at the right time because for example, higher frequency, I've been doing higher frequency for over 11 years. I started in 2011. The very first event was 11/11/2011. And then I sealed it up, kind of hung the jersey up in 2022, 11/11/2022. So it was 11 years that I did it. And then I turned it into the podcast. And back then, which is 2011, people weren't talking about the 11 numbers and the master numbers and higher frequency the way they're talking about it now. So it's not so much that we were premature. We weren't, because it's been here eons, right? But we have been walking with that word sound. We have been walking with that thought and that energy for so long that now the people who are trying to tap in are calling us. So I really feel the abundance. I know you do too. I really feel the abundance of, carrying that knowledge for so long, and finally the success is here. Finally, because I remember higher frequency was 5 people, and I was still doing it, still kept doing it. And you've seen, some of my events now, and
Yes.
how it's grown so much, and like people are listening and people are tapping in and people are more into spirituality, more into the awareness of the breath, the awareness of the conscious movements, the awareness of being conscious, and knowing that there is an inner being, an inner self that needs to be out. It's time. And so people are calling you, they're calling you, and it's fascinating. I go through your stuff. And I'm like, oh my gosh, people are really, really tapping into. I'm going to call you a nerd. When I call you a nerd, it is a compliment. Okay. Whenever I say nerd, it is a whole compliment, because really you are a whole genius. Genius like no other. The things that come out of your mouth, the words that come out of your mouth, it's almost like, do you read the dictionary? Do you read these astrological dictionary words? Like, tell me.
No.
You,
Absolutely not.
so you just know, the universe,
By being, by being as much as possible. I would say that a really good book is the Tao Te Ching. And one book I'm honestly reading right now is Amarion Unbothered. It's great timing that I'm reading that book again. So
I saw that. I actually just saw that he wrote that book a couple weeks ago.
It's a good book.
Yeah?
It's a good book.
Wow. Where are you now? How far are you in that book?
I already read the book, but I'm rereading the book in this particular time, which is needed. Yeah.
Amazing. I've never read a book twice, even though they say you're supposed to read a book twice. Of Water and the Spirit, it's actually here. This is a book that I read, and I need to read it again, from Patrice Maladoma. He is someone that's very magical. He just passed away. I wanted to meet him. It was a mission for me to meet him. I got close to the people who knew him, but I say that to say is that he talks about Burkina Faso and the tribes in Burkina Faso and the things that he saw. And there's a part in that book where he's like, look, you might think this sounds like a fairy tale, but I'm telling you, I saw this. I'm telling you, I felt this. I'm telling you, I saw how spirit moves. And so was there a moment that you were like, I don't want to say the word saved, in the Christian world they say saved, but a moment where you like was spiritually tapped in, where you're like, aha, this is it, and this is my being, and this is what I am, and I'm gonna roll with it, and this is who I am all the way. Like, yourself in all these ways.
I would say multiple times
Great
in
answer,
life,
as usual.
because it builds up that momentum to the point of progression. There's always going to be progress. That's how I see it. Breathing into progress. That's a motto. Yeah, progress. No matter the stress, there's always going to be some type of success.
So do you feel like you know everything already, or you're constantly
I don't
evolving?
say I know everything. I know nothing.
How did I know
I
you
know
were going to
nothing.
respond
I know nothing.
with such intellect?
I know nothing.
So you're still constantly evolving in the knowledge, because how do we know it all?
By sticking with the source of the not knowing.
Wow. Wow.
And within that source, there's multiple things that just makes up that.
So what is a day with you? I want, obviously I know your name, but the Black Airbender is what I'm used to. It just rolls out of my tongue when I see your face, the Black Airbender. What is a day with the Black Airbender look like? Meaning, like in the morning, is it this breath work that you're doing? How does the meditation look for you or feels for you? Can we tap into the same thing that you're tapping into?
Everyone can, for
Mm.
sure. Every day is a bit different, but the main thing that remains consistent is waking up and smiling because you're breathing. Everything else is icing on the cake.
So do you acknowledge it right away? Like I wake up and instantly
I
you're
wake up,
giving
I
things.
wake up, I inhale, and I'm like, I'm smiling because I'm breathing.
Wow.
Smiling. That's like the first thought that became a first thought. It took a while to just get to that thought because we have so many thoughts, right? And yeah, what can what comes first?
I don't know. I don't know why that just got me emotional. Like my eyes, I don't know. I don't know why that just got me emotional. Yeah,
It's a lot.
definitely giving thanks to that and thank you for reminding me, reminding us that life is a gift. Another thing that I say in my sessions is that, it's really hard for us to clear our mind or empty our mind. You know how a lot of practices, especially in the Western world, they're like, clear your mind, clear your mind. And as I started doing this more often, I was like, no, we're not
You're a
clearing our
receiver.
mind.
You're a
Yeah.
receiver.
It's just kind of
It's part of
like,
your function.
right. So it's just kind of like, okay, just focus on the power of now. The power of now is the breath. And we're breathing constantly. So when your thoughts are to the breath, you're focused on the power of now. And in this moment, how do you want to feel? Do you want to feel grateful? Do you want to feel good? Do you want to feel inspired? Do you want to feel these things? And this is when you channel in the thoughts. And then I always say, if your mind wanders, I mean, that's normal, especially in the world today. If the mind wanders, recognize where your thoughts go, bring it back to the breath. Because sometimes in a moment of meditation, you can, memory might trigger that you might need, an idea or an inspiration might trigger in a moment of stillness and meditation and thoughts to the breath. So that is something that I always say. And for you to be abundant in that in that world is quite magical. How do you function as you in this world? Tell me.
um, how do I function? Oh, I guess I also wanted to bring it because I used to be a car guy as well, and I'm still a car guy at heart in a sense. And the car, right? You can strip the car as much as you can. It's still gonna have a main chassis,
Mm-hmm.
right? And to tap back into what you're saying in the aspect that we're the receiver, right? There's still that main chassis. So if we uh, expand our awareness internally, then that antenna that is receiving certain thoughts will start to, I want to say filter, but at least attract higher states or more expansive states, not even higher, but just expansive states that allow you to progress the way your journey allows you to.
Do you play with it sometimes? Do you like, because I do, sometimes I'll be like, let me just be in a meditative
All right, so
moment.
so for
Tell me.
instance, I'll be in Wynwood
Mm-hmm.
and I'll hear some provocative, random song going on. So I'll be like, I'll just rewire the song. He's saying smack that. I'll be like, hug that. So I'll just play around with it too, and it also sharpens your. They say that you have XYZ states of awareness or senses, right? I can literally explain how this is another form of sense in the aspect of how the mechanics of our thought processes work with all these millions of neurons in our brain. So the aspect of relation with, you could say, however your mind compartmentalized this type of music. So if you want to call it provocative, whatever. But now it's literally its own wavelength of conscious relationship to your programming as a human biological machine. So if you're switching out the words, you're now training a part of you subconsciously to be
Yes.
like, hey, all right, when I hear that subconsciously, it'll be like switching, in a sense, to more of what you resonate with.
My daughter does that. She does that, and it's quite fascinating. Like there's a song from Doja Cat, and she would just switch the words, and she'd be like, "I'm an empress. I'm a good little girl. I'm a," you know what I mean? And she's like talking about how she wants to paint the town, white, and like these things,
That's
you
powerful
know.
because internally she's also realizing like, why do I have to belittle myself based on the external, no matter what? Because you're gonna go through life no matter what, right?
Very true. Right, because you're going to hear these songs, you're going to hear these things. So that is exactly what she does. I've actually found it fascinating, but you broke it down even deeper that it's even more fascinating because she's 9 now, and she really does that in a lot of the songs because she's around when she's around me. Of course, it's Rasta music, reggae music, or it's like inspirational music. That's what I make sure that I'm playing around her. But sometimes she's with her sister, sometimes she's with, you know what I mean, and they're playing other stuff, and she comes back really changing the words to the song. She writes her own music, she raps already,
Mm.
she writes poetry. It's quite impressive, and she focuses on making sure it's positive word sound. I think it's because obviously she gets that from me and her dad.
Hey, give credit where it's due.
So you do that often,
Yeah,
just like automatic.
yeah. I
Interesting.
do share this with clients as much as I can, especially people who live in the city, because you're gonna hear that.
You're gonna hear it.
Yeah,
You're
that's
gonna
like the
hear
number
it.
one thing. I tell them, hey, look up more because the city itself, when you look down, your sense of awareness is crowded, 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 crowded.
Hmm.
So if you live in the city, get in the habit of looking up more often to have a spatial awareness of mind. No matter how much you gotta go in between jobs, meetings, etc. Hey, the sky's always there, the building's always there. So
True.
look up more.
Yeah, better to look up. I mean, sometimes you look down to see if there's going to be a $20 bill on the floor, but it is better to look up. It is better to look up and pay attention to what's happening in the moonlight. I'm so into the moon and the stars at night.
Yeah, and it also trains you to be also more in the moment too.
That's
You
true.
know, instead of uh, bypassing, in a sense that, oh, that song's not there, it's not there, in a sense where the people who don't have enough, they use what they have, right, and they learn to make use of what little they have to make crazy stories to tell you, hey, I started with nothing in my garage to this
Hmm.
multi-million-dollar business because I valued what little I had, to know that as it expands, it's not just I'm taking care of that little thing. Now I'm taking care of families with
Right, right,
certain jobs,
right.
etc. So how we do one thing is how it echoes to everything.
I have a story like that. Ronar has a story like that too. He told me his story. I like talking about my crew in the background. He told me his story about like, just that aha moment of like, I realized like he realized that he found his purpose. He needed to walk into his purpose. He needed to do the certain things to execute his purpose and release certain things to execute this purpose. I want to go back to looking up real quick because you triggered a memory. I read one time that shooting stars, how like, there's shooting stars and very rarely you'll see a shooting star. But I read that shooting stars are all the time. The only reason why we see it rarely is because we don't look up. And if we looked up all the time, we would see shooting stars all the time. And so that definitely triggered a memory. And you created this instrument thing that I call it a zapper. I
Oh,
call
the,
it a
the
zapper.
scalar plasma projector.
Say it again.
The scalar plasma projector.
You created it from scratch, right?
No.
No, tell me.
So it's from Nikola Tesla's work. We
Mm-hmm.
just made it more friendly and 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 the education side of it too. So you're not just getting a product; you're also getting education, use cases, testimonials from other people within the community, and also some of my breath stuff to work with it.
So how does it work?
Yeah, so what it does, it doesn't produce the plasma. The coil sparks and then connects with the plasma that's already there. So it intensifies it and then generates that energy to then you can use it for electro healing, but also blast your food, blast. You also generate more bioavailability within the food when you're blasting more electrons in the food. Digestion is easier. I've heard you definitely feel more energy based on whatever you're blasting and then ingesting. You can use it as a cleaning household item. So blast your doorknobs. Blast certain things that are non-flammable. Of
So what, it
course,
zaps away like,
it's cold plasma. So cold plasma cleans. It has UV and it also has ozone. So ozone is very cleansing and it's also anti-pathogenic. So you can also spray the air, just like
wow.
instead of burning sage, if you don't got sage, you can technically cold plasma your space where you rest at night too. Blasting the space where you rest, now you have more potential ions in a bubble. You don't have to have like a fancy med bed, but you can just blast the space where you rest. And
Whoa.
then when you're resting, you feel more satiated, more in your body because there's more of a electron friendly environment helping you
Whoa.
rest.
Whoa.
Yeah.
I thought you were gonna bring it today. I actually didn't think that I would have to say bring it, but then when I was walking you
We
up,
made
you
it
were
to
like,
World Star. Did you see that?
say it. No, that's what I was just gonna say, because when I asked you if you brought it, and you said those things sell so fast. So I'm so impressed that you so many people know about it. So you said it made it to
It
where?
made it to World Star.
It
World
made it
Star.
to World Star.
Hmm.
So because so many people know about this now. And gosh, in 2025, you're like having people buy these zappers. Say it again, because I always say zappers.
Scalar plasma projector.
Scalar
Plasma
plasma
projector.
projector.
Yeah.
I go to, I go and get um, sound healing people have it. I go to I the needles. Sorry, my brain
Oh,
went.
Justin.
Justin,
Happy
he
needles.
does he does acupuncture, and
And he
he
blasts
blasts. Yep.
the needles.
There was somebody else that had it. There was somebody else that had it that was doing massage therapy. It was just a lady,
Mm.
just a random person. I don't really see her in the community, but she had one,
Mm.
and I was just like, whoa, this is like really, really getting pretty popular. And
Glitch
so
in the matrix.
yeah, and then you did it on me one time, right to my pineal gland. Tell me what it does, or this is my third eye, but tell me what it does to the third eye and the pineal gland when you put it in. Because Justin, he does the needle
Hmm.
and then blasts the needle. Tell me what that does.
So when you're blasting the needle in particular, so he's focusing on certain points and it has a deeper resonance. So when you're blasting the needle, you'll have more stem cell regeneration in that area too,
Oh,
and more potential ions scattering. So it's not just going to heal that one spot, but it's permeating around it.
hmm.
And then that one spot also sends, especially the needle, sends a shockwave not just to the pineal, but then to other parts of your body, just that one particular point.
Because he did it for me, and I'm really not a fan of acupuncture, but I wanted to just do it again with Justin, because he's a trusted person in the community. And when he did it, at first I was just like, I feel it. I feel the zap, right? And then the days after that,
Mm.
I was really emotional.
Mm.
Like, I wanted to cry a lot. I think that maybe it just loosened up something, because it was kind of like, okay, again, I'm not really into acupuncture. When he was done, I was like, okay. But then at the end, like the days after, I was just like, no, it did something. It must have did something, because it just tapped into something that was so just enhancing, I guess, emotionally. Plus, I haven't been smoking. You might be proud of me, but I haven't been. So maybe that also enhanced my emotions too. I noticed that when I take a break, my emotions are higher. Um, also, again, I thought that you were gonna bring it because I was gonna tell you to like zap our
Yeah, I was
juices
gonna
and stuff
say,
like that.
I was gonna say my experience with Justin when I did it with him and he zapped me. Finally, after doing all the sessions with other people, I'm like, finally, it's my time.
That's
And
how I felt too.
yeah, and afterwards, I could feel a wave, the inner chi or the wave of energy. You can feel it literally oscillating up and down. I'm like, oh, I know what that is. That's a chi just going up and down the
Yes.
body. You just feel it oscillating up and down.
When did you know that this was the tool that you needed to disperse to the people?
Mm, any tools that I come with, I'm like, does it help me breathe easier?
Deep,
Yeah.
deep goes back to the breath. Does it help you breathe easier?
Especially in certain spaces, yeah, because you can blast down um, not just sage, but also ayahuasca is also a powerful cleanser for the room because it's not just negative ions that the sage or the ayahuasca, a lot of people don't know, but you can also burn ayahuasca too. And they also do this for their ceremonies. They cover the hut, you're burning the ayahuasca too, and it's punging out. But what it's doing is it's also targeting pathogens.
And pathogens is
Pathogens, we don't realize there's like certain pathogens, or you can say non-visible, quote unquote, um, entities
that's
that
what I was
are
thinking.
attached to those quote unquote pathogens. And there's actually certain layers of lens you can actually see in that we live in a world of gases. I can put my hand here and you'll see a reaction to the whole atmosphere go shh, right?
After you were zapped or during?
No, I'm talking about if I'm looking through a lens, a particular lens right now, we can actually see that we are in a gas filled space.
Right, 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 right.
And if you look at, I went to Hong Kong and I went to Tianpan or Pan, excuse me, Tiantan, if I'm wrong. But it's the largest Buddha. And when you go over there, there's these certain scrolls, and I keep seeing this in that particular culture, but not just that culture. Clouds, right? There's ancient writings of art with clouds in particular, because when we look at clouds or when ceremonies are being done with plant medicine, it's also written down that you can see and look up that the clouds would shift in a certain way. And we talked
Right,
about the brain being the antenna, right?
right.
If I had infrared, we can also see that there's an aura on top of our head, but there's also that aura that's amplifying and connecting. So when we look up, that resonance being on that particular plant is oscillating and also shifting what's above your head. And I'm sure you've seen where they you can like stack up your hand and then you feel a lot lighter when you're
No.
lifted. When everyone has a bunch of your hands stacked up like that, there's a layer of energy that's always oscillating on top of the head. That's why babies they have that spiral. So going back to the aspect
Oh.
of density, if this was a Sims game, right? We'd have that big diamond on
Yeah.
top. And in certain African cultures, when you're memorizing or creating art or you're learning anything, you're taught this imagination of light hovering above your head. And in a way, learning about that, I'm like, in a way, you're training yourself to tap into a deeper resonance of your brain and light, keyword light, because everything is light and information, right? And that I'm like that's deep. And that was from the Dogons, learning from them when they told me that. Yeah, you imagine a light above your head whenever you're reading something or you're in really deep thought. And it's like, oh, that's like a halo.
I was waiting for you to finish for me to mention the halo. Is that where that comes from? Because through time it kind of gets watered down with where it originated from. Is that where that image of the halo comes from, through that
And now
conscious?
connecting it to the clouds, and what I saw in Hong Kong, those pictures, you see the clouds and you also see
The halo,
that
yes.
halo. And you're not allowed to take pictures, but um, I can see why. These are what these monks and these are what these monks were in deep thoughts of meditation, and these are what they were seeing, going into different realms within themselves in terms of heaven, talking about going to staircases,
Mm.
etc. But it's always clouds. Clouds carry a sense of consciousness, right? If we're spraying, you can see how chemtrails are sprayed and how they affect. And you can also see the waves coming from certain weather modifications, and you see the wave patterns. That's interacting with the energetic grid. And that energetic grid is also having a play with the clouds itself. So when we
Oh.
see natural clouds, that's an imprint coming from the energetic grid and our connection within that area and that space.
Hmm.
So that's why certain clouds will start to shift when certain plant ceremonies are happening, or
Mm.
certain celebrations are happening. Like in Bali, there's so many crazy stories about certain clouds being formed in, I call that the heaven of water, because they're all about water. They worship water like there's no tomorrow, in a
That makes
sense.
sense, though.
Yeah.
That makes sense because so there was a moment that, I definitely, when I'm flying, when I'm in the airplane, I love to sit by the window and I love to look at the clouds. And there was one time, I will never forget it because it was like probably over 10 years ago. I really think I saw like a halo vortex or something, and it wasn't a glare because it was there for a long time. It was a little like colorful, but it wasn't a glare because I was just staring at it, and I've never seen it before. I've never seen it after. I'm sure that it was something. I'm sure that it was, and that was the time of my awakening of, like, I was reading a lot. I was reading about consciousness a lot. I was awakening myself. So maybe we see these things when
Clouds
we,
are alive. The clouds are alive.
so as children, when children are like, I see this and I see, an elephant, or I see these things up, is it in actuality what they see?
I feel like there's an echo there for sure,
Hmm.
because you can also stare at a cloud and also get it to disperse as well. Energetically doing that.
I believe you.
Yeah, you can do that too, and play around with it that way. But clouds, they also carry a form of information as well. That's how I view clouds, and they're so serene to look at.
Yeah.
They're an easy meditation.
I was just going to bring up the meditation part of it because one time I was in the car with my daughter. She was about 5 years old at the time. No, I want to say six. Um, her uncle had just passed away. My grandmother had just passed away. And I looked back and she was just in a daze and smiling, right? She didn't see me look at her that time. Then I looked back again and she noticed. She was like, I'm just looking at grandma. And yeah, she was
Mm.
just like, I'm just looking at them right now. Don't mind me. I'm just looking at them right now. And that's something I'll never forget. And so it is definitely a form of meditation, deep thought, especially when you believe it. It becomes your truth.
If we're the antenna and this was like a Sims game, but I think it's beyond a Sims game. I'll get into
No, but
that.
I get when you talk about the Sims game, it makes a lot of sense. It makes a lot of
It makes
sense.
sense that also the clouds is somewhat form of information hub that is connected to the
Yeah.
wires above our halos, if you will, connecting to that grid.
Do you believe that locks are antennas?
For sure, yeah, it makes sense. It spirals.
Mm-hmm. Because I hear that all the time. Don't cut your locks, or the locks are your antennas, or don't you notice this person is different because they cut their locks? And I've heard stuff like that before. So the locks carry that information. So your hair carries that information. So it's
Same does the skin. I'll give you, because you asked me about one of my rising routines, and one of them is honoring the fact that when we wake up, we have 10 minutes of theta, or the deep subconscious, right? And one of the things that go unnoticed in our daily lives is the relation with the air and space around us. So one of the things I like to do is blow on my skin with intention, gratitude for every limb.
Yes.
And what that does is,
Oh.
now you're saying gratitude, whatever your internal conversations are with yourself and your body. When you go out and about your daily life and the wind is hitting you, what do you think is rewiring beyond what you can even imagine? Because your cells are conscious. Science is now coming to this. Ozzy and Drix, that was my favorite cartoon show growing up, and it just made sense. Maybe that was a seed planted, and it was a show about the cells in your body. I think Chris Rock is one of the voices,
Mm-hmm.
and he's fighting certain viruses in the body, etc. And he's like a amoeba or some type of cell, and it just shows how each cell within our body, keyword our cellular bodies, are conscious. So if we're in gratitude within that sense, it sends a feedback. And the spark to this was the scientific fact that when you blow on your thumb, you activate more of the vagus nerve, because the thumb is connected to the vagus
What?
nerve. So if we're blowing on our thumb, that
Crazy.
means if we're blowing on our whole skin, because it's connected, right?
Right.
It's not attached. So the electrons coming from our breath carry information. We can do alcohol testing. Now we're
Oh
gonna
wow,
now
that's
we're looping
true.
into, oh, we can do calorie testing
That's
with the breath.
true.
Next thing you know, we're gonna do, oh, your age is with the breath. Next thing you know, as technology gets deeper in AI, we're gonna know how many breaths it took to create this building or that glass, or how many. In terms of just calculating manpower, there's a connection there that we can go so far deep into, down to the cellular connections within our body via breath.
Wow. Wow. Once again, lost for words. I knew I was going to be lost for words with you. Wow. That just literally opened up my mind in so many ways. There's so many things that I don't know. When you mentioned cartoons, Care Bear came up in my mind. The Care Bears came up in my mind. I know it's so random, but then I was like connecting to why I loved that so much. And they were always in the sky, and they were always like pushing out, I mean, different emotions, but they
Mm.
were pushing out so many of those things. Another one was Captain Planet. I loved Captain Planet. You know what I mean? Like that was another one that I'm like, how come they never made a movie about that? Like how come they did Spider-Man and all these movies over and over again and they never did that? And I was like, these are the ones that really should have been recreated in this time, in this generation, because I feel like everything that you're talking about, there's the stories are in those cartoons, they're in those movies.
Subliminally, in a way, but
Yeah,
yeah,
like
that's what they were there for.
The Matrix, I'm fascinated by the Matrix. I think of you when I think of the Matrix. I when just because I feel like you talk like that. Like, you definitely give me like a Morpheus kind of energy or
Do you
even
think that's
more.
air you're
Yeah,
breathing?
like I feel like you would be that person that would be like, you have the answer and this is choose the right answer and make that decision. And so you have these glasses that
Crystal
you're
lenses.
yeah, that you're wearing now, which is amethyst, yeah?
Yeah, this one is amethyst. We have citrine, blue kyanite. We're gonna tap into ruby soon, emerald,
Mm. Selenite? Can
and
you do that?
selenite. Not yet.
Mm.
Yet.
What gave you the idea to put earth stones on glasses?
Because the fact that main sunglasses block out the sun to help activate certain melanin receptors in the body.
Mm-hmm.
So if I'm looking through something based on Earth's structural grid, which I'm technically made of,
What?
it's going to have a good impact
How did you think
looking
of that?
looking through.
How did you think of that? Because At the moment that I found out that you did those glasses, it was another aha moment because, like, I mean, a week or two before I found out that you did that, I was wearing these purple glasses and I could only wear them for a little bit because after that, my eyes started hurting. And I want to say a couple weeks after that, I saw you promoting your amethyst glasses, and I'm like, well, those are the real purple glasses that I need to be wearing. How did you figure that out? Because that makes sense. Now I'm tapping into my eyes hurting with the fake plastic or whatever that was that I was looking through, which affected my eyes.
Oh, by the way, this is plant acetate, so it's not just plastic. So it's plant plastic.
The borders,
The frame.
the frame.
Mm-hmm.
So you researched that to how do you know to research these kind of things?
It was after 160 no's over the phone of saying that this was not possible.
Who was the one that said it was possible?
So I mainly started here in the U.S. So I called over particular diamond cutters to be like, hey, can you cut crystal? And just start there. I didn't even think about where I would source it. I'm like, I'll source it wherever. I need
Right.
somebody that has a machine to cut it within the U.S. And a lot of people were pushing me out to Japan, Vietnam, China,
Mm.
so many other places. So we ended up sourcing it in Japan, also our lens, and they get cut in China.
Whoa. How well are you doing? Like, are people buying these
They
like
are.
no other?
They are. They're buying it.
I need to get a pair. What are the
We're
price
slowly
points
starting.
between your glasses and I'm saying the zapper? What are your price points? Tell the people where they can buy these
So
phenomenal things that you
you can
created.
get the crystal lenses at mycrystallenses.com and the zapper at alchemybreath.work.
Alchemybreath.org.
Dot work.
.org.
Work.
Dot work.
Dot work. So
Hmm.
www.alchemybreath.work.
I've never heard of dot work before. Have you, Ronar?
I had to take it. Because everyone's familiar with breath work, so I was like, I'll take the breath work. Breath.work.
Wow. Fascinating. You are fascinating. Like, even more fascinating. That's just
I'm
the
just a
word.
mirror.
I know. I know. You are just so, I know you move very normal per se, right? I see you in the community. I see you pulling up. I see you, you've done a lot of events at my studio. You were doing the monthly events and people it would just be sold out. You would just be like, it's sold out. And I'm like, okay, great. And you intertwined what you were doing, which was the breath work, correct, with sound.
Mhm.
So tell me how that connected. That's when I met Ari, which I
Oh
love her so
yeah.
much, the violinist. We became such good friends since then. Um, Tell me how you connected the sound and actually sold it. You sold it to the people where people were actually coming and leaving just tapped in.
So the connection with sound really amplified being on liquids um, for I think it was year 3 out of my 6-year journey of being on liquids.
Like
Year
just pure liquids,
Yeah,
like
pure
fasting.
liquids. Yeah, lifestyle. I'm gonna call it
Lifestyle.
lifestyle, not
Okay. I love
fasting at
that.
that
I love
point.
that. I love
Yeah,
that.
and at that point, my friend was getting a certification for sound therapy, and it was actually he was getting it under a, a very prestige sound therapist from India, and his bowls are handmade, and there's a reason why you want to mainly go with the handmade when it comes to Tibetan bowls, and being in stillness and hearing the bowls and feeling the bowls, I was like, oh snap, this is like food too.
Mm-hmm.
So that was really clicking in the sense of just being able to feel the densities and and just feeling music more. And I can understand how the trajectory may have led to the point where now I have such a musical group of friends. It
Right.
just made sense in the sense of, hey, love the music and it'll love you. And I don't just listen to any type of music. I listen to abundance different styles of music. all the way to even Albanian rap. Shout out Noisy, and what he's doing even with the dance hall, bringing it to that. So
Mm.
seeing how different cultures even bring the reggae energy into their spaces, I did the same thing in the sense of listening to particular music that really impact and really move people. And I feel like that is also a skill to have within the music industry too, just the aspect of listening. And I also want to share with you guys that listening is also a superpower too, for real. Because the more you can listen, it's not just about listening and just nitpicking, but also just being able to just feel really what the music is really doing and your relationship with it in that moment in time. And then you're now energetically building a bond with the music in a deep resonating way, where
Wow.
I was talking to somebody like Illmind, right, who's a great producer, who's produced many great hits, and I was like, hey, I know it may look like a certain way, but your hip hop track could have inspired somebody that was going through a really dark time, and they were
Right.
pulled over to their car and they listened to that song. I'm like, wow, I know you were the producer and it had different types of lyrics, but your intention will always echo through that. And he's like, yeah, I've had many testimonials of that, like that, of
Oh.
course. I'm like, that's the point. That's the point. And that's the type of language I'm also learning within the music. And it's teaching me within itself and bringing me into certain paths that allows me to be fully authentic and bring out the artistry in me as well.
The new age artistry too, because I see you dropping music. I saw that you did like music with the breath.
Yeah. So I do I'll do subliminals. I'll do spoken word with the breathing also in the spoken word as well, subliminally. So that's all my breath dials. I even had one with Bruce Lee in there as well,
Oh,
because I've been reading some Bruce Lee stuff.
of course you have.
Yeah. Yeah. Beyond his fighting skills, his mind, it just made sense of how far he came, but his age. If you looked at his age, he wasn't that old before he passed.
Hmm.
But it just made sense how powerful he used his time.
You definitely give Bruce Lee with the breath vibes, for sure. When I was listening to the music, it was just I mean, and you see the people in the background while you're recording it, and you see them just like bopping and dancing and like, and I'm like, you need to come in because I want to drop a meditation like soundtrack. Like I want to do songs, right? Through meditation, but not just the usual take a deep breath, but like, beat with the frequency hit, like the breath with you in the background. That would be something very magical. And I got inspired when I saw you doing that. I was like, I need to call you after this and we're going to hear this. I would love for you to get on one of the tracks and just do what you do because you, again, are so in your purpose. This juice is so good that I'm tasting it in my mouth. You are so in your purpose that it just flows. It just the music, the breath. It's just a beat. It's just the sound. It's just the vibe. Like phenomenal, phenomenal, masterful. Like you
Thank you.
definitely are a master in your craft, and I know that yes, you're ever evolving.
Yeah, I'm actually coming out of spoken word into more rapping as well.
I heard that you did, like I heard one of your because you turned yourself into a cartoon, and then at first it just sounds like you're speaking, and then I'm like, no, wait, it's rhyming.
Oh, the first breath, the baby's first breath.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yes, yes, that one. And I'm like, oh no, he's like dropping lyrics right here.
A little tease for the year, yeah.
Okay, it's a tease. More to come.
A lot, yeah, a lot more to come. Like I said, I've been blessed to be around powerful musical talent. I definitely want to give a shout out to Illmind because going to
Oh,
his producer camp, that was really cool. and to really step more into my artistry, and also experimenting when I heard a lot of unreleased tracks that are now Grammy worthy right now, actually, and playing with the bowls with them. I'm happy they allowed me grace. Because
Right.
one guy came over, he's like, "Man, what are you doing?"
And now they're like, what are you doing? This is
So
maximum.
yeah, it's gonna be fun. It's gonna be fun.
Do you sleep under a pyramid?
Not recently, because I've been moving, but
Okay.
I do sleep between two little pyramids on the side of my
I
head.
just felt like I needed to ask you that question just because I know there are people who walk in the light that you walk into, and usually it is a unique way of how they sleep. And that just kind of came into thought. So I have gifts for you. They're not tangible gifts. They're just gifts that, because you are a very unique person. And usually I'm just like, my guests, I'm just like handing the gifts. I'm like, this. And part of the gifts are usually, partaking in certain things. And I know you partake in just the breath. So I was like, what are the gifts that I will be selecting for you? And first off, I wanted to ask you, do you take the time to do other sound healing classes or sessions? Do you take the time to do that on your own? Or are you always just kind of facilitating?
Well, yeah, that's when I'm in my own space. Personally, even when I'm not creating anything, I'll be hitting my bowls every couple hours.
Okay.
Honestly, yeah. It just it's just being if you have bowls and you're a sound healer, I encourage you to do that. It's a blessing to even have that. Because I was
Thank
in
you.
Bali last year, and just waking up in hearing certain frequencies, you can tell I'm like, this is why they live such a peaceful
Mm,
life within certain spaces. You can tell, even though during the day certain things and the sound of the city may get a certain way, but you'll always hear certain bells. You'll see the incense go off in a sense as well. So it's a particular frequency of consistency,
mm-hmm.
and the consistency part, but also the aspect of just coming from a place of not just I have to do it, but just coming from a place of authenticity and honoring the
Mm,
fact of that's where the gratitude comes from, right? I am grateful that man, I got bowls. I can hit the
wow.
bowls all day.
I
Why
needed to hear
not?
that. I needed to hear that because I usually just pull out the
We
bowls
got to
when
remember life
I
even
know
before the
I gotta
bowls,
be
you know?
better. Yeah,
So, yeah, if it's there in your space,
I
it
know.
it's also a way sound healers, also a way of think of it, you're breathing life into your bowl. So by time you're ready to share it with others,
You've already, yep,
you've already
I'm gonna take that in.
unweaved the layers within that bowls that may need to crack, and now it
Very
can
true.
expand even more and be intent. You already know the intentionality.
Right,
So when
right,
you're hitting
right.
those bowls within your own space, your own domain, it's going to echo the
Wow.
way it needs to.
Well, I want to gift you a sound healing session. And with the sound healing session, it's with gongs. I added more instruments to it. So I want to give you a whole sound healing session. You can bring anybody if you want to bring somebody with
I'm going
you,
by
or
myself.
you could do it all on your own, no pressure.
Thank you.
You could come to our studio, Megalit, to do it. We are expanding. So
Oh,
yes,
congrats.
thank you. We're opening up a new space in the same building. So it's like there's going to
Ooh,
be like
is it
a
going to be more
second
on the
level.
right?
Yep,
Ooh, okay.
exactly,
I
and
see that.
upstairs. So it's going to be another level. And I just want to tell you, you are welcome anytime to do what you were
It's
already
been a while,
doing. I
guys.
know it's been a while, and you were having sold out, but I know life and stuff like that.
Life
But
happens.
you were definitely having sold out sessions. So I offer that space to you. We open up in the summer, and you are always welcome to do your sessions. I want to give you a session. I also want to give you a Legree session. Did you ever take Legree with us yet?
I did twice.
Okay. Well,
Powerful.
I want to give you a session as well with that. There, have you ever been to the Coconut Grove Farmers Market?
Yes.
Okay, so there is a lady there. Her name is Lamoy. I
Oh,
don't know.
Lemoyne, oh,
Yes,
Lemoyne.
I knew it.
Yes.
I knew you were gonna respond. So Lamoy is gifting you a love plate. She calls it the
Oh.
love plate, and her foods are electric foods. Her foods are live foods. I had to be very mindful what the gifts were gonna be for you because
Oh.
it's you. So she's gifting you with that, and you could zap your food and if you want to, but her food just is like no other electric food. So I called her up and I was like, this is who I'm interviewing, and would you like to sponsor? And she said, of course. And so you can pick that up whenever you're ready.
Hey,
um that is something that was the part that I was really looking forward to giving you. It's
thank
electric
you.
food, and
Thank you.
that's you. um I usually have this box full of ganja, but I know you don't partake.
We can make it into a tea.
See, and I wanted to see if you were going to say that. And I said to myself, okay, if you do say that, yes, you will, then my sponsor, Rollin' Loud, Rollin', not rolling, but Rollin' Loud 305 is going to gift you with what you want, because, there's that. I already gifted to Ronar. I made sure I still brought for my crew. And, if you also, I heard you speak about ayahuasca. I don't know if you partake in
I have done my
mushrooms.
medicines,
Okay,
yes.
medicines. Yes, yes.
I've
So,
done my share.
yes. And okay, good, because I didn't want to call you and say I'm gifting you, and but I wanted to make sure that you were into plant medicine and these things, and I know
Hey,
you
the
are.
plant comes to you.
Exactly.
There's the clicking sound that trees make to communicate. Dolphins make that clicking sound. The first language is known in Africa. What are they?
Is it as no sound?
It's just a
Tongue.
clicking.
Click.
That's it. That's how they. And what does that sound like? Morse code. That's how the Morse code came to be, from just that.
Morse code, like
Morse code.
MOOR.
But
Hmm.
before that, before the clicking, where was that?
The breath.
Is it now clicking, y'all? I know many years
It's
now it's all
clicking.
clicking.
Click.
I just had to come on here and do that.
The flashlight, the halo on her head. Click. Okay, so I love that. I love that. So that is for you. And so Rolling Loud 305, I'm going to make sure that I wanted to just tap in with you first on air in real time to make sure that's what it is. So I'm going to have a love box for you sent. And then I want you to pick. I want you to pick. So if you would like to come with me there and choose your gift, you're welcome to. Or I can put it together and give it to you. But you deserve the gifts. I'm so looking forward to you eating Lemoy's food. But you've eaten her food before.
This will be my first time,
Oh
technically.
my
Yeah.
goodness! But you know who she is.
Yes, yes.
Listen. Her food is like no other. When I was pregnant, when I
I know
had
what
my
my
child,
ex had her food.
yeah,
Yeah, it
yeah.
was
I
good.
mean, the milk I produced with just her live food was amazing. And
That's a good
so,
sign.
yeah, I know. So, you're gonna have that, and like I mentioned earlier, Exotica's juice bar. He's ready for you whenever you're ready to get your
Ooh,
smoothie, acai bowl, whatever you want. Just he'll get that ready for you, and all on me.
thank you.
So thank you so much. Thank you for being a part of Higher Frequency, the reasoning. This is a gift that I was able to get you. You're a whole star in my eyes, and a star that's up in the sky kind of
It's
star.
honestly a gift sharing, being able to share.
Thank you. Yes. Is there a certain breathing technique that you want to give to the people that are watching Higher Frequency, the reasoning? Plus for me too, because I need it too. And Ronar needs it too.
All right, yeah, we can start real quick. Mainly breathing with the nose. Make sure your spine is straight, because when you're breathing, when you exhale, the spinal fluid goes down. When you inhale, the spinal fluid goes up. So your breathing affects your spine as well, and helps you maintain that spine and that glow. You know, so keep the spine straight, mouth closed, relax your shoulders, find your center. Have your hands wherever your center is, that's around your belly button. And breathe mainly with the nose. Feel your breath. Feel the exhale go out. Feel the inhale come in. And once you start to feel the tuning in, I'm going to encourage, feel your stomach pushing in when you inhale. Feel your stomach letting go when you exhale. mainly through the nose, and breathe at your own pace. You don't have to follow me. Long exhales out. Inhales pushing in that stomach. Exhale, letting go. I'm encouraging you to longer and longer exhales. Now, an easy way to open up your sinuses as you exhale, I want you to smile. And you can relax your face and feel the contrast. Exhale, smile, inhale, relax. Smiling because you're breathing. As you exhale, you can keep your face in neutral and start to swallow your saliva. Swallowing the internal waters shaped by your breath pattern. Sending a resonant frequency as you swallow to the stomach, which in etymology means stomach, storage of energy, not just storage of food. You're swallowing more peptides. Some of you may taste a metallic taste in your mouth, a sweet taste. And that's coming from the peptides being released from your pineal gland. The deeper, the more connected you are to your breath. Thank you for sharing your breath. The breath. Use this in your everyday life.
Thank you so much. Wow. Thank you. How you feel, Ronar? Thank you for that. Thank you. Until next time. Higher frequencies,
Cheers.
what it's about.